just mentioning to this person here that I can't wait until these are done. You know, my wife and I just moved to Green Bay. Sorry, yes, I'm a Packer fan. Okay. But I was a Packer fan when they were bad, too. I want you to know that. And Minnesota used to really beat up on them back in the 70s. But we just moved to Green Bay, and going to a new church where you know nobody, and then to have these on too, it's not easy, but a lot of people have it worse. And I am going to have somebody live on the television here, and a lot of our counseling that we do for people who are hurting is done by Zoom. Raise your hand if you're familiar with Zoom. Yeah. We've been using this kind of remote counseling, face-to-face remote counseling, back before Zoom. We've been doing it for 12 years. And so when the pandemic hit, we were ready. And you don't always think of, the wells and cutting edge in the same sentence, but we were cutting edge. Matter of fact, Zoom consulted us because we had been doing this before there was a Zoom. And so I'd like to bring Dan on. I think he's listening right now. Dan, are you there?
I sure am. Can you hear me okay?
Can you hear okay? All right. All right, Dan, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us where... Oh, my. We almost kind of match, don't we, here? Where in the world are you today?
Yes, well, thank you very much, everyone, for taking out a few minutes of your morning for us to allow us to give you some updates on Christian Family Solutions. There's a lot to update you on because we're sort of in the midst of a mental health pandemic right now. So we can talk to you about some of the work that we've been doing in our Christian counseling area. My name, as Pastor Maddock mentioned, is Dan Nomenson. I am a licensed professional counselor both in Minnesota and Wisconsin. And I have been here for 22 years now, I guess. So it's been a while, and just love what I do for the Lord here. Love this ministry, and it's just helping so many hurting people right now. And I am coming to you from a faraway land called Germantown, Wisconsin. So if you're familiar with the kind of the southeastern part of Wisconsin, we're kind of a suburb, I guess, of Milwaukee, right next to Mequon, where Wisconsin Lutheran College is located. Hey, don't touch me there. Jeez, yeah, be careful where you're poking at now. No, I'm just kidding, Pastor Maddox. So I'm here in yeah, right. So I'm here in Germantown, and this is our corporate headquarters and also one of our main counseling clinics, one of 50 clinics around the country now.
Okay, thanks, Dan. If you have any questions along the way, don't hesitate to raise your hand. We'll do our best. And Dan is the expert when it comes to counseling. I am not a trained counselor. I have done counseling in my ministry. I was 17 years in Findlay, Ohio. Has anybody here ever heard of Findlay, Ohio? No. Okay. Have you ever heard of Bowling Green, Ohio? We're in that neck of the woods, okay? Was there for 17 years, and then for 5 years at Trinity in Watertown, Wisconsin. Have you ever heard of Watertown, Wisconsin? Anybody? Okay. And then 16 years with this ministry. And when I was a parish pastor, or as my older brother puts it, Jim, back when you were a real pastor, okay? My older brother is a retired pastor, and that's the joke he has with me. He said, yeah, Jim, I remember when you were a real pastor. And anyway, you have to remember that my older brother is John the Third, okay? And grandfather, John the First, our father, John the Second, my older brother, John the Third, and his oldest is John the Fourth, and I'm James the Less. And anyway, he was a parish pastor as well. We pastors are well trained. I really believe that. But are we trained counselors? No, we're not. We're shepherds and we're theologians. And we do counseling. And I think many times the training, the experience, hopefully the intelligence we have, and the love for the members of our congregation, that's adequate to help most people. But sometimes it's not. And what we're finding is that pastors are realizing that more. The members of churches in our synod are realizing it more. And that is why we started what's called the Member Assistance Program. Has anybody here ever heard of it? This church is a partner in the Member Assistance Program. And I'm going to have Dan talk about how that has grown dramatically over the last 12, 13 years. But I'd like to have you folks answer the question, what do you think we are counseling people for the most today? Anxiety is a big one. What's the kissing cousin of anxiety? Depression. What else? Yes, isolation. Huge. My mother is almost 95 years old, and she went to church on Easter Sunday for the first time in over a year. She's been isolated in her apartment, basically. And it has taken its toll on her and people like that. Isolation. What else? That is huge. Marital problems. Why do you think marital problems are really spiking right now? Too much time together. They can't get away from each other. And problems that maybe were kind of percolating under the surface are now right there. And so, Dan, would you agree that marital problems is a big thing today?
Oh, yeah, definitely. In terms of the referrals that we get and the people requesting service, marriage has definitely been at a very large increase. Our marriage counselors are just booked right now. And it is there. You know, when we go through a pandemic like we've been going through, some of our vulnerabilities, both individual and as a married couple, some of those vulnerabilities that maybe we were able to deal with in certain ways or cope with or work around in certain ways, with the pandemic, it just explodes those vulnerabilities and they become definite areas of challenge then. But we're glad people are turning to us and coming to us for help, but that's definitely a big area of concern.
Dan, do we have about 100, 105 counselors right now?
Yeah, I think we're around 110-ish right now, actually. So just added a few more, added one in Michigan just recently. So we're glad to have her on board as well.
We are looking for counselors. We could add 25 counselors to our staff today and keep them busy. And so if you know of anybody in the mental health field who is WELS or ELS, we would love to have that person's contact information. And they can live anywhere in North America. So if you think of somebody, please send their names our way. Bethany College in Mankato, the ELS College in Mankato, have they started their master's level program in Christian counseling yet, Dan?
It's actually starting this summer. Yep, first cohort is this summer.
And hopefully down the road there will be a pipeline of counselors and that are in confessional unity with us as WELS and ELS Lutherans and have the proper training. You have to have a master's level to do professional counseling. And so we're very thankful that they're starting that up, and we will benefit from it down the road. But in the meantime, if you know of anybody, as I mentioned, please send their contact information to us, and we'll be in touch with them. What makes us as a Christian counseling ministry, I think, special and extremely effective? What I mean by effective is that when we counsel people, the outcomes are good. And I happen to believe that not only are our people well trained, but a lot of them got their training in secular universities. My son is a psychologist, works for the state of Wisconsin. He got his training at Marquette University, which in name only is a Jesuit university. He basically got a secular education. And so our counselors come to us, and we actually train them in integrating God's Word into the counseling process that they're going to be a part of. And I'm not here to bash secular counselors, but they're at a disadvantage. Getting help from a secular counselor is like asking somebody who needs help to take a seat on a two-legged stool and feel comfortable. What's the third leg? God's Word. Does God have anything to say about hope, relationships, self-control, eternity, forgiveness? That's where it's all at. And so we take the best of what the world has learned about mental health, and we integrate God's Word as that very, very vitally important third leg of the stool. And Dan, that integration has all of our counselors, for example, if they want to be a part of our ministry, they go through a screening process, a vetting process, and then they have to agree that they will get ongoing education in the area of integrating God's Word into their counseling practice. Do you want to add anything to that, Dan?
Yeah, no, that's well said. We just really want to make sure that the people that are working for us and working with people who are hurting, who are coming to us, we have to make sure that those counselors adhere to a confessional Lutheran worldview. There are a lot of competing worldviews out there that are critical and secular and very much against a Christian worldview of any kind. So when we see members in our WELS congregations who are seeking counseling services from a secular counselor, again, we don't want to bash secular counseling, but there is a growing contingent of secular counselors who find one's Christian faith to be an obstacle for addressing their problems. And the encouragement many times that we see from secular counseling is, it does not involve God's Word. Certainly it does not involve anything spiritual of nature. It does not involve one's church pastor, other call workers in the terms of helping that individual. So we just want to make sure that our WELS members have that access to Christian counseling and counselors who adhere to that confessional Lutheran worldview.
Also, our seminary, our WELS seminary in Thiensville, Wisconsin, they have on staff a certified Christian counselor as a professor. And his name is Professor John Schutze, and he does some part-time counseling for us. But what is he training our future pastors to think of in terms of the counseling needs of the church they will one day serve?
Yeah. The mantra that Professor Schutze uses in his course at the seminary, of course, they go through pastoral counseling and a lot of education and approaches. But the one thing he's very careful about is to make sure that they all know how to refer. So the mantra is always refer, 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 because there may come times when pastors are meeting with members when it kind of works outside of their area of training and expertise. And that's when we can assist.
There are also some things that a person struggles with that are very private, and they would prefer that I don't really feel like talking to the pastor about it. And so this is another reason why this ministry has become so abundantly used by the members of our congregations. As I mentioned in the sermon this morning, it's about 700, right, Dan, congregations, all of our Lutheran high schools, our prep schools, and World Missions uses us. Ever heard of Friends of China? They use it. Kingdom Workers uses it as well. And so there used to be a kind of a skepticism about getting counseling, and I think that is really fading away quickly. If a person breaks a leg, they go to the doctor. If they've got something wrong mentally or with coping or relationships, there's help available. And the pastor here, your pastor, mentioned after the first service that during his seminary years, he got some help from us as well. And I have members of my family who got help as well. I have 4 children, 7 grandkids. Isn't being a grandpa great? For those of you who know what I'm talking about. And one of our daughters got help from our ministry when she was assaulted in a mall parking lot in Milwaukee. And she's doing very, very well today. So there is a place for pastoral counseling, but the pastors who are coming out of the seminary are taught, don't overestimate your abilities in this area. And when I was a real pastor, I did a lot of counseling. And I got good seminary training. I read books on counseling. I took classes to improve my counseling skills. I know God's Word. I have a certain amount of common sense, I'm told, and I had a heart for the members in my churches who were hurting. That's normally enough. But in one case, there was a lady in my congregation, probably at the time in her mid-40s, multiple problems, and I really wanted to help her. And so I met with her a good hour every week. I was a busy guy in a big church, but I wanted to help her as part of the ministry. And I was counseling her weekly for almost, I'd say, 10 months. And I noticed there was no real improvement that I could tell. And so I encouraged her. I said, I think you need to see somebody like Dan. And her answer to me was, no. You're my pastor. I need to see you. Okay? I met a few more times. I saw no progress. I kind of put my foot down. I said, I'll see you again, but only after you see one of these professionals. And she reluctantly agreed to do that. And I think it was after her second session of counseling with a professional counselor that one of her problems was identified. It's called, in the counseling world, she had an attachment disorder. What was she attached to? Me. And I don't believe it was any kind of a sinful attachment. She had what I call, in layman's terms, kind of a clingy personality. Do you ever know people like that? They kind of glom onto people. Well, here I was, doing my best to help her, and in the end, I was doing what? I was enabling the problem, and I didn't see it. And so it's important for us pastor types to realize that we are not professional counselors. And I think that's one of the reasons why our ministry has grown so dramatically. Dan, why don't you talk about the member assistance program? And over the last 12 or so years, you were a big part of getting that off the ground.
Yeah, I'll kind of give you an overview of our services in general. We've really grown over the past, 5 or more years. So it's good to take a little review. So we do provide outpatient counseling. Outpatient counseling is your typical 1 hour a week kind of counseling. We accept insurance, private pay. People can come directly to us. They can call our toll-free number or just go to our website, christianfamilysolutions.org, and click on the big button at the top of every page. It says request an appointment, and then we'll do our best to get you scheduled up with a counselor who specializes in your area of concern, is in your insurance network, and has availability. So people can come to us directly. However, what about those times when pastor is aware of a member who may have a financial difficulty? That's when pastor can choose to use our member assistance program. And with that program, we partner with WELS congregations all over the country, and we provide short-term counseling services. The congregation covers our discounted fee, and the members receive the service at no cost. So it removes that great big barrier for mental health care, and that's the financial arena. So we remove that obstacle, and people can get the help without any trouble at all. The other obstacles that we remove with all of our services is distance. And during the pandemic, as Pastor Maddock mentioned, much of our work is being done just like you're seeing here right now. We do it all through Zoom. So we've been doing this for, I guess it's now 13 years even, that we've been doing telehealth or video-assisted counseling. And it works really well. A vast majority of our counseling work shifted over to telehealth during the pandemic, and it remains in telehealth, much of it. We do some in-person work at our clinics, but people generally like to meet from home or, whatever location they're at where it's a private area. And they can meet with any of our counselors, not just the ones that are located in the clinic that's nearest to them. So we can really expand the number of people that we can offer them by offering video-assisted counseling or work by telehealth. The other area that we have expanded is in our areas of levels of care. So our member assistance program and our outpatient programs, those are our kind of initial levels of care. We do provide higher levels of care. It's called intensive outpatient programming and also day treatment programming. And with those two levels of care, people meet multiple times during the week and 2 or 3 hours a day. And it usually involves group counseling as well as individual counseling. So the higher levels of care for people with areas of concern that have not responded to outpatient, and they need some additional help as well. So before we move to hospitalization, we want to make sure that they're using a different level of care that's less intrusive. So we've expanded those in our Lakeville, Mankato offices. We have intensive outpatient programs for teens and adults, dual diagnosis programming for people who struggle with substance abuse challenges and also other areas of concern. So we've got a lot of options available for people now more than ever. So if there is a concern, we certainly have people here to address that. So that's kind of a quick overview of our services. And as I mentioned before, we have 50 clinics in 6 states now, not just Minnesota and Wisconsin, but we're in other states. Many of those clinics are on site at school locations, including West and St. Croix. They're in right there in Minnesota. We're also on site at Bethany Lutheran College, Martin Luther College as well, providing services directly on site for the students of those schools. So I'll stop there, Pastor Maddock, and you can let me know if I missed anything.
Okay. As you came in, I think most of you got one of these. These come out about twice a year. And if you would like to receive updates on this expanding ministry, I'm going to pass a sign-up sheet around. And if you would like to receive it, great. If you prefer not to, that's fine. But I'll start it over here, and you can sign up if you would like. All right. By the way, I can even do this technology at my age. All right? I was not born into the tech world. I'm an immigrant. And when I started my ministry, the month before I went to my first call, I purchased a brand new, shiny, electric Smith Corona typewriter. And that's in a landfill right now, okay? So I'm an immigrant into this world, and I can still do this. If I've got technology issues at home, guess who I call? The grandkids. Used to be my kids. Now I call 10-year-old Ethan, who's a little bit too smart for his own good sometimes. But I'll be on the phone with him, and explain my issue, and invariably he'll say something like, "Oh, Papa, that's so easy." And I'm thinking, if you're so smart, how do you spell the word disinherit? You know? But I have not said that yet. Dan, how about we only have a few more minutes here. Church begins at 10:15 again. But do you want to just talk a little bit about how we are helping teenagers?
Yeah, absolutely. That's an area of big concern for us. And in fact, it has kicked off a number of different things in our ministry. First of all, we provide services to all of our area Lutheran high schools around the country. And we have people who share our passion for helping our teens, that they have provided funding, and we look for more if you're interested, but they have provided funding so that we can provide at least 5 hours or 5 sessions of Christian counseling service for any teenager from any of our area Lutheran high schools around the country. That's 24 high schools. So we are very busy, either providing services on site. We're on site at 12 of our area Lutheran high schools or prep schools, or we provide services by video right to the school, and they have a room there and they meet during study hall, so works out real well. But we have found that perhaps our culture has underestimated the importance of social support for teenagers, and the importance during a pandemic especially. We have seen a big increase in teens who are needing assistance. Who do teens go to when they have trouble? Where's the first place they go to? It's their friends. And so when you limit that social contact and that ability to establish relationships, it directly impacts their resiliency and their ability to withstand the challenges that face them. And they've got a lot of challenges. So we now see teens that are struggling with a lot of things: eating disorders, high anxiety, suicidal thoughts, behavior, things that just are increasing so dramatically in high schools. So the schools are asking for help, and thankfully we've got, again, supporters who are able to help us and make sure that we have services for our teens. Next school year, we are expanding our services. That's why Pastor Maddock mentioned that we are looking for more of our WELS or ELS Christian counselors to join us. We want to provide more services on site at schools or by video, and provide not just counseling, but additional consultation with parents and teachers, educational presentations for parents, teachers, and staff and students. We want to provide the additional services that kind of match what a typical social worker or case manager would do. For instance, when a student does need to go to inpatient treatment, how do they return back to the classroom? We want to make sure that all of that transition back to school is done properly. So we want to expand our services that we're offering to schools next year and helping them cover that cost with donors and funders that can help us expand that. Very important work that we're doing, but we are really excited to have the opportunity to do it. So we are on site at all of our high schools, I mentioned before, at all of our college locations. We also support our 2 seminaries in our fellowship: Bethany Lutheran Theological Seminary in Mankato, Wisconsin Lutheran Seminary here in Mequon. And we just want to make sure that we're available for those who are training for the full-time pastoral ministry as well. So a lot of different options for people to get help, and we're, again, just really glad we have this opportunity.
All right, we're going to have to stop. Church begins in 15 minutes. Let's give Dan a round, okay?
Well, thank you very much for that. I do appreciate it. I'm going to share our website here with you. It's ChristianFamilySolutions.org. Make sure if you need any information, go right here. A lot of information here in our website. You can see bios of all of our counselors, and you can request an appointment right up here. This is where people connect by video. They just hit the connect with your provider button when they have that appointment. So a lot of good information there, ChristianFamilySolutions.org. Thank you all for your time and your attention this morning. Please keep our ministry in your prayers, and thanks for being a great host to Pastor Maddock this morning as well.
Dan, I got
Blessings,
a quick
everyone.
question before you go. You're not in church. Did you go to church?
Yeah. Well, no. See, now I went to Saturday night church, and that counts too.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
I'm just double checking, buddy.
Yep. Got it covered. Thanks for thinking of me, though.
All right.
Have a safe trip back, Pastor Maddock.
I will. Okay. That's about all the time we have right now. We're doing quite a bit of counseling on the campus at Martin Luther College. And the outgoing president, Zarling, and the new president, Gergel, they see a real need to address the issues of students before they graduate and get into a church or school. Take care of things early. And so we do an awful lot of work on that campus, and we're happy to be able to do that. I'll be preaching in the second service. I need to stop, and I'll be hanging around after the second service a little bit if you have some questions, but thank you so much.